you. Oh my gosh. Thank you for being part of Trek Track. I'm Garrett Wang. For those of you who don't know, I was on Star Trek Voyager, but I'm also the Trek Track director for Dragon. Without further ado, let's bring out these amazing, talented, and good-looking actors. Starting with Ethan Peck, Spock. Jess Bush, Anson Mount, Captain Pike. We have him again. We had who was here for the panel that we did on the first day, basically 10 a.m. Wonderful panel. It was so much fun. Anyway, I just want to first start off by saying that Strange New Worlds is my new addiction. One thing that's most amazing about Strange New Worlds is the attention to detail. If you look at the set, if you look at the bridge, yeah, it's modern, it's cool, but they also incorporate TOS, clunky buttons as well, right? I mean, and I love it. I love it. So that incorporation of TOS, that homage to the original series, is amazing, and that's one of the cool things about the show that I love so much. And all of you and all of your performances just blow me away. So thank you so much. We have a microphone here. We have a microphone here. So for those of you who have questions, you can go ahead and come up. But before we take the first question, I would like to ask Anson about his podcast, The Well. If you can talk to that a little bit.
So yeah, I have a podcast called The Well, which there are a few Trek interviews on there. Interviewed Ethan about a near-death experience he had, heroin story. But it's not about that. It's about how we gather together our creative juice, or it's a famous person talking about the thing you didn't know that they do. So, for instance, we have an entire conversation with Alice Cooper about golf. I'm driving into New York City in a couple weeks to interview Laurie Anderson. I think we're just going to talk about dogs. So stuff which we find is a much more interesting way to come at people's personalities than the usual 10 questions that they always get. We just published recently an interview with Kenneth Mitchell about his current struggles. And we have one I'm about to start editing, Brett Spider. An album he made. You can only imagine. It's fantastic. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, I know that when I first met you, that's the first thing you said, like, here's a card from my podcast. Check this out. Okay.
Unfortunately, once we made the show, we found out that there are about 15 other podcasts called The Well.
Oh.
So if you have trouble finding it, just search my name on whatever platform you're searching.
Yes, please go to the right well, not the incorrect well. All right, so let's start off with some questions, and we will start with, how about this side over here? Yes.
I get to start.
Yes,
hi, my name is Spaz. My question is for Daddy. I'm sorry. My question is for Daddy. Nope, not right. Anson. So
I see what you were going for there.
Yeah. So Captain Pike is, in my opinion, the role model of non-toxic masculinity that the world needs right now. And I was wondering if you've had time to think about that, or the legacy that you're building as you're doing it, or you're just thrown into it and hoping it comes out right, and if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate that. I have to say at the outset, I've never liked that term, toxic masculinity, because I think that if something's toxic, it's probably not truly masculine. It's usually some form of insecurity disguised by bravado. So we just need to. Now, look, I don't blame people for being kind of shy about masculinity. It's gotten us into some pretty bad situations culturally and globally. But I think we need to repair our relationship with that concept. I don't really spend too much time thinking about that. Although I do appreciate the compliment, but I have to credit the writers. I mean, I just say the words. I try to. Pike is some of the better facets of myself, and the other ones I just sort of like tuck away.
Thank you for the question. How about over here, please?
Hi. Nice to meet you. My name is Julia. My question is, what audition would you say that you've learned the most from?
What audition have you learned the most from? Of their career, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
What role or what audition?
Audition, but if you have a role that you just really want to talk about.
I, for some reason, was just thinking about an audition I had probably 10 years ago. And it's a very embarrassing one. It was for a comedy, and I was like doing this bit that just was terrible. I was like screaming or shouting the whole thing. And the woman was like visibly like jarred and uncomfortable. It was like, I don't do that. And I was like, but I'm doing it. Yeah, she's like, it doesn't work. And I was like, and I like did it again, and it still haunts me, obviously. So the lesson is you gotta like read the room a little bit. You can't be totally isolated artist and creator. Sometimes you can be, but it's really important to listen and think about who you're transmitting to, who you're talking to, and who you're talking about. So that was a big lesson for me.
Nice. Jess?
I did an audition maybe a month ago where I had to very quickly learn how to be authentically an animal with deep emotional range and lots of things going on inside. And I had 24 hours to work out how to do that. So yeah, that was a steep learning curve. I just pulled through.
Okay. I'll dearly not cast you. Anson?
I don't know. The only thing that comes to mind is probably because I was just talking to Anthony about this the other day is I really wanted to take over the role of Hedwig on the Annie Ranch on Broadway. And in case this may come as a surprise to you, but I'm not a Broadway trained singer. But I did a really good job of bullshitting my way through that audition. And John was into it. He was like, yeah, oh, that's so interesting the way that you chose to speak that way. And then his producing partner was like, yeah, no.
I love that. Okay, thank you for that question. All right, over here to this side, please.
I'd like to say hi again to Ethan and Anson. I just saw you a few days ago in Las Vegas, and you were very nice. And I have a question for you, Anson. Has anyone discussed Captain Pike cookbook by chance? Because I know, at least after 50 years, we have a few recipes aired, or
Not seriously.
we buy it.
I know that. there may or may not have been a conversation about the possibility of that somewhere somehow. But it's a very broad conversation right now. But I will mention that you brought that up.
There you go. Thank you for that question. Let's head over to the side, please.
Thank you for being here, first of all. So my question is, with a streaming service, we get great seasons of shortened shortened seasons, but you cut out all the fluff and you get to the heart of the story and you get really dynamic story moments. Do you feel shortchanged as for all of you? Do you feel shortchanged in the fact that you don't have full 22 episode seasons, much like Garrett did with Voyager? Do you feel that that's a hindrance to you on character development? Or do you feel that you can cut to the heart of the character faster in the episodes you're given?
That's a good question. Who wants to tackle this one?
I think Nancy should
All right. Daddy, you're up.
That's just what I was thinking. It's a question of scale, really. You can make something that's 100 episodes, or you can tell the same story in a single episode. It's just a matter of how you want to do it and scale. And a lot of times, though, I would say more often than not, in television, you're starting a season with an idea of where you want to go, and you end up in a completely different place than you thought you would end up in. Which is what I like about the medium. There's no other medium in acting where that happens. And it's a tightrope walk that everybody's on together and has to negotiate together. So usually, we don't have a choice in that. It's just like, the network says, this is what we're going to pay for, and this is what you're going to deliver. It is going to be exactly this long. And so we just have to figure out, which is, I like that. I like that problem, and having to work it out with other creative minds.
Jess?
I feel like as I have less experience in the industry, this is the biggest job I've ever done, and I haven't had the opportunity to experience the opposite. So for me, I'm like a kid in a new sandbox, just kind of navigating the new terrain that I've been given, and this is wonderful. And as you said, the challenge of not knowing what's coming really 3 steps ahead is meaty, and I'm enjoying it. So.
Yeah, what I can say is that I don't think too much about who's writing it or how it's being written or the sort of general shape of things in production. I get a script and I do my best to have the experiences that are there written for me. But I will say that at the end of our production of the season, I'm exhausted. And I actually asked Will Wheaton in a Ready Room interview, what was it like doing, you did the same schedule, right?
Yeah.
Like 9 months on and 3 off?
Actually, 10 months off, 2 off. 10 months on, 2 months off. But of the 2 months, there's still wardrobe fittings, everything. The actual time when no one was calling us was 7 days.
That's crazy. I was so wiped out again.
Oh yeah, trust me.
How did you get through it?
Look at these bags on my head. And honestly, Anson's right. I look at it as, when you look at TNG, TOS, TNG, DS9, and Voyager Enterprise era, with those 22 to 26 episodes, that's kind of like old school, like powder detergent, right? And with the new track, with like 10 episodes, 12 episodes, that's like Tide Pod. Just throw that away. It's concentrated, right? Still gets the damn job done, right? Doesn't matter. And to be perfectly honest with you, it takes usually 2 to 3 seasons for TNG, DS9, and Voyager actors to get used to green screen, technobabble. These guys started running. They just jumped in and boom, went through. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so impressed And so congratulatory and giving you guys praise, because I feel like you just jumped into the whole thing ready to go, and you didn't really have that time. You had to get used to all this stuff. And plus you have new technology to deal with, the AR wall, which I don't even know how that works, you know, so.
It's also a function of the time that you find yourself in. And so it's a trade-off. Voyager was, I was talking to Kate, it was 26 episodes a season?
Yeah, 24 to 26.
That's crazy. But you were shooting a tighter schedule. And the production standards, the expectation of production standards in television are so out of control now that we have to shoot, we shoot 12 to 15 days, not including the second unit, which is running most of the time. And the post-production process on our episodes these days take a year.
Wow.
From the time we wrap an episode to the time it's finished is about a year. So it's just a completely different thing.
So 12 to 15 days per episode, is that right? Okay, which was compared to 7.
And quite often more than that, when you're talking about second unit and sometimes first unit, main unit will go for the first or last episode of the season.
I think one of the episodes in the next season was like 19 days or something.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So, Anson, all of you, how many pages of script do you guys usually film in one day?
7.
It can be 7, but it can be a page and a half.
Wow, it's almost like feature film pace.
Especially,
okay.
like in those bridge scenes, they take forever because everybody's in those scenes, so the coverage takes forever.
It's monotonous, yeah.
I feel like bridge days are always like Mondays. And we're up like 3 in the morning, it's like we have a 7-page scene, and it takes 10 hours of the day to film. So we're doing that scene. Is it the same for you all?
Well, yeah, it was always Mondays. We called it Bridge Hell. Everybody's there, and it's just the same scene. But everyone's covered. You gotta cover everybody.
You gotta cover everyone from every angle, from the front of the bridge to the back.
Yeah.
And every relationship.
Yeah.
We kind of stoked about living in Sweet Bay.
But you said on average, though, Anson, you said on average 7 would be the max, 7 pages for the day, right?
That's a big
right. So on average, many times for Voyager, we would film 13 to 14 pages a day, just going through. Yeah, it was crazy. For 10 months. Exactly. Yeah, it was nutty.
How did you not lose your mind?
I actually I slept in the trailer a lot of times. I didn't even go home, because they would say my worst day was 22 hours of filming. Okay, so we started at 6 a.m., we finished at 4 a.m. They said, congratulations, thank you so much, we'll see you at 10 a.m. 6 hours later, so I went to my trailer and just crashed there, so yeah, it was insane. But that type of hours and that type of slavery, it doesn't happen anymore. You guys actually have some decent hours, right? Jesus, I can't even.
They're afraid of litigation.
That's probably what it is. We didn't have good lawyers back then, yes. All right, over here, please.
Hello, my name is Trip. It's nice to meet you. Anson, my friend wanted me to tell you your performance in Multiverse of Madness was mind-blowing. I'm sorry. You'd kill me if I didn't tell you. What I wanted to ask was...
Everybody's a comedian.
The entire cast, which one of you is most like your character, and which one is most dissimilar?
In Star Trek?
Yeah.
I would say Melissa is the most like Ortegas.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
And maybe Bruce is the least like him because he's not an alien.
Are you saying that he is an alien?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Hello, David Bowie. How are you?
So obviously you guys are all playing massively iconic classic Trek characters that have been reimagined. And I just wanted to make a comment that, Peck, I don't know how much you had to do with it, but to me, your performance of Spock is how I always imagine he would be. Like, it's the actual balance between his human and on that note, my question was, as far as preparing to do the characters, how did you all research? What did you do to research how they were? And as far as the reimagining and the revamping, how much did you do? Were there any parts of the character that you guys happened to inspire and influence?
Great question. You want to start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll try to get the broad strokes of it because it was kind of a long process. I think it first took me identifying why I had been chosen to take this on, because in the beginning of the process I didn't know what I was reading for. And so they saw something in me that perhaps I didn't understand yet. So it was kind of continuing to grow my self-awareness so I could kind of figure out, like, what about me lends itself to this character, to this role. And then from there, you know, it was kind of, in terms of Spock and TOS, it was kind of a softball because my Spock in Discovery is confused, he's not quite where he will be. And even in Strange New Worlds, we're still working towards that sort of level of equilibrium between human and Vulcan. And so I watched a lot of original series, and at a certain point, I let go of it because I didn't want to be copying or mimicking what Nimoy was doing. And I felt something sort of like running or thrumming in me. And from there, the writers, as you know, we keep talking about the writers, but they really do take care of us and keep our characters in their lanes. And every once in a while, there'll be something where we might say, Spock wouldn't say that a child. I don't know if that's quite in line with my character, but a lot of the work's been done for me. And yeah, I still can't believe I'm doing it. So that's my answer, I guess. How about you?
Thank you. Yeah, so I found the episodes that had the most major performance in the TOS and had a good look at those, and also kind of just read up on her as a person and how she made it back into the franchise, which I really loved. Being kind of kicked out and then changing her hair to sneaking back in, which I loved, and wanted to kind of, work that into the character somehow. And yeah, so I kind of just distilled the essence of her performance, which I found to be from her kind of candid sarcasm vibes, and used that as a seed to kind of germinate my imagining of her. And there was this really cool creative challenge or invitation to imagine who she was at a younger age. So before she'd been maybe scathed by life, maybe a bit more naive and bright-eyed, and like what kind of curiosity would exist in that space, but then also reimagining her in a much later time in the world where I think a lot more things are possible for women to represent on television. So that was kind of a cool challenge, I don't know, to have like something that was earlier and younger, but also later and more progressive, like blended into one. So yeah, that was kind of my process, and it's ongoing. I also do like to read up on different versions of nursing and medical care, so be that many back of like traditional nursing, which is really informative because I think that the situations that we deal with in space are like can be quite extreme, so it's good to kind of get a lot of perspectives on care and medicine. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think Ethan had a much bigger challenge than Jess or I had because there was so little to go on for us. The characters were not that well established. So obviously I went back and watched The Cage, The Menagerie again, and I thought, okay, I guess I'm not going to be doing that. Because I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that was a Pike in a very different part of his life. Earlier, and if you go back and watch it, like kind of dour and a little solipsistic, and it was clear from the scripts for Discovery that the writers were like, we're not doing that. Pike is fully on board with being a captain now. He's figured all this shit out, and we're gonna have fun. So there was no room for me to do any of that, and I wouldn't have wanted to anyway. So I think it was a smart decision to go with a more established Pike, more fully realized Pike. So I really didn't feel like I had much of anything to lose. I just tried to follow the writer's intentions and go with your gut.
Great. Thank you for your question. Appreciate it. Let's go over
You
here.
look awesome, by the way.
Yeah, you do. Nice compliment. For your question.
Hello. Just wanted to say, I know you guys chalk it down to the writing, but I love the way you portray your characters. Anson, your character portrayal of Pike has really encouraged me to really be a better man. I wanted to say thank you. Jess, it was wonderful to watch as Chapel. I love your portrayal of it, and Mr. Ethan, I love your portrayal of Spock, because it actually really helped disseminate a lot of wisdom that honestly I think a lot of people need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. It was very flattering.
And Anson, your portrayal of Pike has encouraged me to grow my hair longer so I can match Pike's peak. I took a shower this morning, I was like, can I get it up there? And it didn't go there. It didn't go there, but I want to get there, so, okay.
Not a daddy yet, Garrett.
Yeah. Sassy too. Okay, over here.
Hi. Just wanted to give a little perspective before I gave my question. 1975, I'm 7 years old. My father sits me down and says, "Watch this with me," and really clicked with Mr. Spock. Went on to study physics and become a physics teacher. And fast forward to 2022, I've got a 7-year-old on this side, my 88-year-old father on the other side, and I'm looking at him going, "Watch this with us." So first I wanted to say thank you. Ethan, amazing Mr. Spock. That's just blowing us away. Jess, thank you so much for showing what I always worried about from my female students, which was, do you have that confidence? Do you have that assertiveness? Are you going to go for what you want to do, or are you going to get channeled? And Anson, it's so much fun. Yes, we've had all the other Star Trek shows, but this one is clicking more like the original series than anything else that I've seen. So my question, not to put a tremendous burden on y'all, is how do y'all feel about being a part of that kind of perspective?
Being at DragonCon, and my first convention was last weekend in Vegas, and this is my second one. And getting to spend the whole day connecting with you folks and talking and hearing quite a few stories like your own of people who've been watching Trek for their whole lives, and it's a really big part of how they connect with their families and their most dear memories is so special. And it feels like an immense privilege to be part of this community. So thank you.
Shed today. I recruited two new honorary lieutenant commanders to the Legion Prize. Who were quite deserving, including a young lady today who was recovering from her epilepsy surgery. And it just, it makes all of it worth it. I mean, honestly, guys, at the end of the day, as an actor, it's such a... We've all heard it's a very hard career. It's not as hard as being a soldier or a teacher. It's just...
Or a nurse.
Or a nurse. But it comes with very real challenges and realities, and it also comes with tremendous rewards. But at the end of the day, we're still just trying to play make-believe. And so for us, at the end of the day, all we want is for you guys to enjoy and appreciate what you're doing. And you've been so effusive at this convention about coming up and telling us that, and it means a lot. So, love you!
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I mean, I've been plugged into something that's so much bigger than me, and I get to sort of have the experience of people loving and appreciating Spock. And thank goodness I'm not younger, and I can really, be separate from this thing that's now, I guess, a part of my life. Will probably forever be, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful to receive your acceptance and your love and your validation, and to be a beacon of logic or hope or whatever you need in your lives. And, I'm just so proud and happy to be here. And I can't believe it. And it'll be interesting to look back on this question in years to come as my sort of sentiment changes, my perspective changes, because I'm just having the time of my life and having the adventure of a lifetime, and I'm excited for it to continue.
Thank you.
I've been moderating panels since day one, since I became Trek director in 2010. Thank you so much. I've never, ever become so emotional in multiple panels, literally. So, Wilson Cruz in Discovery panel made me tear up. Blue Del Barrio earlier in the Discovery panel today made me tear up. Jess Bush made me tear up on her. So it's been a lot of emotional, a lot of feels really. So it's been really special. So I thank you for that. Okay, let's go over, I think over here. Yes.
Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm a lifelong Trekkie, and I'm sorry I've been losing my voice this weekend. I wanted to ask, and this is for all four of you, I know you have watched a lot of Trek over the years, and I'm curious what your favorite episodes are.
Very nice.
Outside your own.
Before we answer, could everybody just say hi to my 9-month-old daughter?
Yes.
It's bath time right now. We're all saying hi to you, sweetie.
That is adorable, and that's the only person authorized to call you daddy.
Absolutely.
Remember that. Okay. What's your question? Favorite episode. Yes. I'm going to start with Anson because he's such a
Favorite
huge Trek fan.
episode.
Favorite episode of all
The Inner
time.
Light.
The Inner Light.
That's one of those that just stands alone in my mind as a completely, it's a category in and of itself, that episode. It's just so brilliant. And then the second one I'd have to say, Arena. Yeah, come on. That's spectacular. Kirk's slow motion, double axe handle to the back of the woman's head. That is golden age. TV,
God damn it. My favorite one is also The Inner Light. Yeah, I think it's just so deeply affecting. Like, it just leaves you spinning at the end of it in a way that's like... just spun me out in the best way possible. Yeah.
That's a tough one. I love Data. I find that I would imagine that the character of Data has been informed, or Brent Spiner's performance of Data has been informed by Nimoy's performance of Spock. And then I would say that Brent Spiner's performance has informed my performance of Spock. So there's this like beautiful circular thing there that at least I experience or I dream is happening. And so it's Data Lore probably. Yeah.
TOS, City on the Edge of Forever. Deep Space Nine, The Visitor, Knocks Me Over Every Time, and Voyager Timeless, the 100 episodes. Thank you for that question. Wonderful question. Yes. Over here, please.
The best of both worlds. Oh, first of all, real quick, Garrett, this is my 13th year at DragonCon, and you bring a unique thing to Trek, and thank you for all that you've done. I've been part of other tracks that you to this one at this convention, so thank you.
Why do you gotta make me cry?
So much. Thank you. Ethan, you should show off your shirt more. It's fantastic, and you are my second favorite Spock. Anson, I run a software development team, even though I'm an aerospace engineer, and a lot of times, for some reason, people ask me for decisions on things and when to start things, and the answer is now, hit it. I don't know if it's you or the writers, it doesn't matter, you said it, so.
I said it exactly like that.
You did? And that's how I type it over Teams, you know. Jess, my question is for you. What has been your favorite action scene / blooper in the first season of Strange New Worlds?
Ooh, in the first season. I mean...
Or the second season, I don't know.
Hang on a second.
What has been the best action scene blooper of Strange New Worlds?
Stuck that in there.
I mean, episode 7, the scene where I got to like scrappily wrestle the pirate invader was so fun. I think especially because I got to be as goofy as I am in real life, you know? Like, she doesn't know what the hell she's doing, but she works it out.
Yes, she does.
Thank you. And blooper. Oh, God. They asked me to, in the same episode, when Spock and Angel come into engineering and finally, like, over a bunch of knocked out people, I don't know if they actually cut it into the episode, I can't remember, but they asked me to, like, spin a hyperspray in the air and catch it, and then...
No big deal.
Yeah, like, you seem surprised. Like, I have to, like, spin the hyperspray and catch it, so I just sort of punch it into the air, yeah, that'll be it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My wife helps run Swag and Seek. My name is Andrew. I have a question. It's mainly for Mr. Mount. When I first started watching Star Trek, it blew me off my socks. Blew my socks around. As a two-tour combat veteran, watching your performance really touched me to see a commander who perhaps wasn't all there because of an experience that he has experienced. And I wanted to know, was this something that the producers said, hey, let's do PTSD, destigmatize, or what was the decision making there? And secondly, what was your driving force behind her performance?
I apologize, but you're referring to which episode?
The very first episode, where you have, it's obvious you have PTSD from the future. Spoiler alert.
You know, I think my experience spending time with Colin Bohannon and Helen Wheels was became very useful in that episode for several reasons. And that the kernel of Cullen came from my time growing up in rural Tennessee. A lot of my friends, my father was a combat veteran as well, but from World War II. He was a bit older. But a lot of my friends' fathers were in Vietnam, and they had they just had a real wall, just very thick, stern kind of sadness hidden behind a wall of parents' strength. And that was sort of where I started with Colin. So, yeah, that's a good question. Thank you for asking. And thank you for your service.
Next question.
Kind of piggybacking off of him, for Anson, you're given this opportunity to represent this great legacy character, but it's also one with an extremely difficult narrative. And so, in exploring Pike's trauma, what was it like to have to kind of get into his head and explore that character? And did it change you? Did you learn anything from him as a person to, from a man that's facing his own fate and trying to outrun his own?
Oh, goodness. I'm a fairly practical actor. I really have issues with quite often younger actors who feel the need to pontificate on the pain of their own genius. So I think that there has been an intentional mystification of the craft of acting that I am sometimes feel like I'm single-handedly trying to dismantle and not getting anywhere. But I certainly do still learn from Pike. Yes, certainly. I mean, his sense of responsibility as a tone setter and as a man of patience has really set a higher bar for myself as an adult man who's now a father. Certainly, and I've been working on that because he is a better man than me in a lot of ways, and I'm trying to live up to him, especially given the fact that it's not lost on me that I play the captain of the Enterprise and also the call sheet, and there are responsibilities, unwritten responsibilities there as well. And you try to be, you have to set an example there as well. And so I try to be diligent about my work, try to be diligent about how I treat the people that I work with. And a lot of that, there's a constant sort of mirror right in front of me that is Pike. So thank you for asking that.
This question is for Space Dad. Retiring the time. Previously on this panel, you talked about in yesterday's version of this, you talked about the intro monologue, boldly go, et cetera, all that, and how you guys did the recording process and all that. I love your delivery of how that's done in the intro. Can you talk about the sort of, what did you guys do did you triangulate that sort of tone that you set for it? Did you shy away from the bombastic Shatner style? Like, how did you, or did you just do it and not think about it very much? Talk about that.
Well, I mean, it was easier for me because the microphones were very different in 1965. I didn't have to shout. And, kind of agree with Shatner. Like, what is it? Like, what are you doing? Is it a log? What is it? So I just try to embody the meaning of the words, and how do you give space to space, right? How do you let that word breathe as an introduction to that thing? You're setting an idea and then following it along. I did bring up the concept of Joe Q with the recording team. They'd never heard of it, and most Westerners had not. But we were taught this in graduate school, that every act of creation has a Joe, a Ha, and a Q. It's a Japanese concept, and the easiest way to explain it is archery. The Joe is picking up the bow. The Ha is preparing to make the shot, and the Q is the release. And so we tried to figure out what was the Joe Q of that speech. And for me, the gold standard Q, no pun intended, was Patrick Stewart's rendition. You know, he really punches the end of his in a way that I loved, and I tried to give it a little bit of that, but not overdo it. You know? So I don't know, I hope that answers your question.
Anson, on the panel that we had on Friday morning at 10, you talked about your conversation with Bill Shatner about the beginning monologue. Can you share that story just when you were talking to him?
Yeah, so for those of you who weren't there, so just to make the long story short, so when we were recording that, I sort of realized in the middle of it that he was an older, right? And we all had a big laugh about that. So I saw him in Chicago, and I was telling him the story, and he kind of like, as you'll sometimes do when you're talking, start thinking about something else. You can see it in his eyes. Sure enough, I got to the punchline, and he nodded. He just stared at me. I was like, and he goes, you know, I never got it. And I said, got what? He goes, I don't think I ever got the speech right. I was like, I said, what are you talking about? It's the gold standard. I was like, no, I never really understood what it was supposed to be. I mean, like, is it a captain's log? Is it an interior monologue? I was like, don't worry about it. It's the opening of a TV show. But he demanded, and apparently he said in pretty much every movie after that, he demanded to record the speech. And all just never felt like he got it, which is so crazy. You know? So you just, I don't know. It's that, but that's also, you're never really satisfied. You can never really be truly satisfied. There's stories about painters in the, I believe in around the Impressionists and the neo, was it the Raphaelites? There were painters in multiple, there were more than one. They were caught burglarizing homes. They were caught breaking into homes, and it turned out they weren't burglarizing them. What they were doing is they had sold a painting to a patron, and then they became obsessed with something they wanted to fix. I always love it. It's so true.
That's awesome. Thank you. And let's head over here. Yes.
This question is for Ethan, but anybody could answer it. So, have any of you ever made any prank phone calls while in character?
Did you do some FaceTiming with Fish's kids in character?
Yeah, I mean, like when I've been on set, sometimes some of the producers will be like, "Hey, will you record a video for my kid?" And I'm like, I'm always very happy to do that, and make something up, and Now there are some kids out there that think Spock is really real. But no, I mean, I've like called my buddies and been like greetings, you know, like, it's too like esoteric for someone I think to like figure out that doesn't know the way Amber of the show.
No, I haven't. Yet to do so. Yeah.
Anson?
One time I for a charity thing, I auctioned off a voicemail greeting as Colin Bohan. Yeah. So it was something like, this here's Colin Bohan. Steve ain't here right now. If you're looking for him, he's probably out on the cut with me hunting down that mangy dog to Sweden.
Is that the end of it? I just want to throw this in there. Nancy Howard, the actress that plays Samantha Wildman on Voyager, she does the best Janeway ever. And she called me up and left a message, and it was like, she's like,
Garrett, it's me, Kate. I'm in trouble. I need your assistance. And I was like, oh my God, something's wrong with Kate. Oh my God, what are we doing? Oh, police. And I was like, flip that. And then she goes through this long monologue, and at the end she goes, it's Nancy, bye. Scared the crap out of me. So, over here.
Hi. First, I would like to say, Ethan, you are my first favorite Spock, so. But my question actually is for Jess and Anson. So, yeah, so you guys, well, technically you're playing pre-established characters. There's not nearly as much, like, expectation of how exactly you're going to play a character. So in a lot of ways, you're pioneering, you're being like the Leonard Nimoy of Nurse Chapel and Pike. And how exactly do you go about that, especially knowing how like important and diverse and all that stuff Star Trek is to so many of us? Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when I first booked the role, it was my introduction to Trek. Really, I didn't have a wide knowledge of how massive Trek is in every sense of the word. So I think in a way that almost benefited me in developing the character with the showrunners and the writers, because I didn't feel pressure in the negative sense. I felt invitation in the fun, curious sense, and I felt very touched and honored that they trusted me with that creative problem. And Kiva and Henry were really open about like where we could take her, and they wanted to play to what they saw as my strengths as a person and my characteristics, which was pretty cool. But yeah, when I booked the role and got on a FaceTime with them both, I was like, okay, who do you want Chapel to be? Where are we going with this? And they basically put it back on me. They had some ideas. They had a few points and suggestions about maybe where she grew up and like what her early years were like, but also left it really open to me to get creative with that, which has been such a joy, and like I said before, I felt an immense sense of trust, which is just incredible.
Anson?
I'm a big believer in the power of responsibility. I've often, for a while, I've thought that the #1 killer in the United States is not heart disease or cancer, it's retirement. Because something happens, especially to men for some reason. I'm not sure why that is, but retirement's a real killer. And so I'm very grateful for being in a position where a lot is expected of me. It forces me to keep hold myself to a higher standard, and I don't take that lightly. And I am constantly baffled by the idea of this network and these producers and these writers have entrusted me to this role, and kind of just said, okay, go, and didn't feel the need to lord it over me, and trusted in my instincts as an actor and as a Trek fan myself. It's such a gift, and I mean, every day on set, there's a moment where I cannot believe I'm on screen.
Unfortunately, we're at that time where we're done, unfortunately. So for those of you that have questions, maybe you could go to Walk of Fame. I know that this young man will be back at Walk of Fame right after this. So maybe if you have questions, you can ask them there, but we have to end it right now. I'm sorry. What's your statement?
No question.
Quick,
No question.
go.
No question. I've been a fan since 1966. I was 12 years old. I think what you guys are doing is you're creating your own next generation. And you are bringing Star Trek to kids like me 55 years later.
Now, get the photo with you guys in the background. So, stand here in a second. Stand up, stand up.
You want to take a selfie?